Good morning. Karri.Lindsey, managing broker here with Brix Realty. Welcome to the July's real estate market review. Thanks for joining me today. Let's dive right in. As we move into the second half of the year, let's take a look at how the market has fared so far. The good news is that despite many gloomy forecasts from early January, the residential real estate market has returned to a more typical seasonal trend as buyer demand has improved. While challenges certainly remain for buyers and would-be sellers, there's hope and growth in the data. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. It is important to remember what a challenging last 3 years we've had, an unprecedented period, one fraught with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of challenges, and a real estate market that was anything but average. You've actually heard me in previous videos reference this time as the unicorn years in real estate. And with that, let's look at some of the highlights of 2023's housing market at mid-year. The top good news is housing is normalizing after those unprecedented unicorn years. We're seeing that normalization show up in demand. We're seeing that normalization show up in prices, and we're seeing that show up in a return of seasonality. And we're seeing the same trends pick up in the spring with a buildup towards the summer and a slowdown that we expect in the fall and winter months of this year. In tandem, and with that, importantly, we're also seeing prices rebounding. By and large, we're seeing a market moving towards a new normal, or maybe I should say back to the old normal. However, there is a reality check to some of the good news here. Supply is still constrained, and as a result, homeowners have limited options when it comes to them trading up or trading down or moving into their next home, in part because of this tight supply. And when you add in higher mortgage rates, it's not surprising that the number of new listings coming to market from a lot of these homeowners who might be ready to move or to sell are still holding out as we head into the second half of the year. So our inventory is extremely tight, and it's affecting not just sellers, but buyers as well. So because we have low inventory, we're seeing prices begin to rise again, which really puts affordability as a primary challenge for many people who want to participate in this year's real estate market. However, there is a silver lining to that reality check, and that's part of our outlook we're going to discuss. New construction is growing, which is offering more options to buyers and to sellers. And in turn, we can expect a moderately active summer season. And I can tell you that it's already starting to get really hot this summer, and not just in the temperature realm. Let's take a look at the trends and especially some of the good news. We start with the demand side, and we've seen buyer demand return to the market after about 6 to 7 months in 2022, in which rising mortgage rates scared off a lot of folks from the market and they pulled out. But in the second half of this year, Freddie Mac conducted a study of buyers and sellers, and what they found, and this was done in May of this year, was that 18% of Americans said that they are likely to buy a home in the next 6 months. So that's good news. That number is significant in a given year, and I'm talking pre-pandemic here. The normal churn in the market, the normal share of people buying a home runs somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10%. So we are way north of that. A clear indication that for a lot of Americans today, the desire to buy a home is very much on the forefront of their minds and on that front burner. At the same time, 16% of Americans who own their home, surveyed also in May, said that they are likely to sell within the next 6 months, which would be great news because that would add to our inventory. And these are really solid indicators of a market that is typically returning to a more seasonal trend. But more importantly, returning towards a more active market, a more normal market, like what we saw in 2017, 2018, and 2019. On the demand side, it's also important to remember that today's buyers come to market in a much, much stronger financial position. What you see here is from Experian, the average credit score of an typical American customer. And you see this going all the way back to 2010. 2022, the latest number shows that the average FICO score, and that FICO score is 714. It's the highest level it's been, and it's been that same level for the last 2 years. So strong savings rates, strong ability to weather the financial challenges have meant that credit scores are at all-time highs. And just as importantly, for the American real estate market, is people who want to apply for a mortgage and get approved have an even higher FICO score. You see here from the New York Fed that as the first quarter of this year, the median score of Americans taking out a mortgage was 765, even higher than the typical American consumer, and a really good sign for the housing market moving toward that new normal I keep talking about. In addition, we've now had 10 months of mortgage rates moving mostly in a well-confined range, somewhere between the 6 and 7% between the 6 and 7% range. And yes, we have crested that 7% threshold a few times, but by and large, we've been confined somewhere between 6 and 7%. And again, that seems to be where our new normal is for right now. What's it going to do going forward? No one is really sure. But what we've been able to pick up from the buy side is that many buyers across the country have accepted that these are where the rates are and could be for the considerable future. Lawrence Young, the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, says something important. He says that mortgage rates heavily influence the direction of home sales. And at the same time, he highlights that relatively steady rates have led to several consecutive months of consistent home sales. Let's take a look at those numbers. What you see here are existing home sales from 2014 onward until this year. And you see in the green bars the months of this year. And as of May, the latest number that we have, we're running at 4.3 million annualized pace of sales with a nice steady month-over-month increase. Yes, we are below the long-term average of 5.3 million or so, but at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, despite really gloomy predictions at the beginning of the year of a massive decline in sales and prices this year, we're seeing a much steadier market, which is chugging right along as many Americans are looking for their first home or their next home. Importantly, when we look at home sales across price buckets, what you see here is in the $0 to $100,000 range, the $100,000 to $250,000 range, the $250,000 to $500,000 range, and so on. You see the bulk of sales are taking place in that mid-range of the market, the $250,000 to $500,000 range, which is really somewhat the more affordable part of the market, and another good sign on the path to normalization of our real estate market as a whole. Lawrence Young also points out that while available inventory strongly impacts home sales, existing home sales activity are down sizably to the current supply being roughly half of the level in 2019. And when we take a look at the numbers, we can quite quickly see at a glance what he means here. When you look at the average month supply for 2011 to 2019, you see it's roughly about 5 months. That's the inventory that you would be expected to see in a balanced market. And as of May 2023, we're at a 3-month supply. An improvement for sure, but still really short of where we want to be in a balanced market. So with the picture of demand showing a rebound and improvement, let's take a look at existing supplies of homes. And what we're seeing is supply is improving, but it's still really limited. According to Realtor.com, there were 7.1% of homes for sale in June compared to the same time in 2022. That translates into about 41,000 more homes for sale. The 2023 months are highlighted in green, and you see that those are much higher than the same period during 2021 and 2022, which really is good news. Buyers today do have more options, and more importantly, those homes that are coming on the market are staying on the market longer, which gives buyers extra time to make decisions and prepare for offers. And that's really a good development for our real estate market. But we are below the levels of 2017, 2018, and 2019. The company Realtor.com says in the final week of June, we noted that inventory actually declined on a year-over-year basis for the first time since last April. This is a substantial slowdown, and it was primarily driven by potential sellers not deciding to sell their home. In putting this in visual form, you see those active listings, the blue bars on the graph, really have been greater than the green for 13 months in a row. And Realtor.com points out that in June, these number of homes newly listed for sale declined by 25.7%. And more importantly, new listings remained 28% below the pre-pandemic years, basically. So looking at the numbers for the past 7 years, you see here every month plotted in terms of new listings. The dark blue lines highlights this year, and you see that new listings this year lag quite a significant margin behind the prior 6. What's also worth noting is that the return of seasonality. When you look at 2017 through 2019, the light blue and gray lines, you see the seasonal component here at work. You see new listings, homeowners bringing on homes in the market in February, especially March, April, and May. And traditionally, homeowners bring homes to market in the spring, planning for a successful sale in either late spring or summer. And we do see new listings begin to subside in June and then moving through July and August as the new school year starts. And then as the thought of holidays come in September, October, November, and December, we see the fall and winter months slowing down with new listings. I expect that the number to continue mirroring the same seasonal trends as we head into this more normal real estate market. On the downside, that means that we will see fewer new potential listings as we move throughout the rest of the year. President of the Federal Reserve of Bank of Richmond, Tom Barkin, said that he didn't fully anticipate how much moving interest rates, particularly over the last 12 months, would convince people not to put their house on the market. And this speaks so much to the fact that many homeowners are, in many times, looking to trade up, or as they move into retirement, trade down. And the surge in mortgage interest rates have presented a lot of additional challenges for sellers. They're struggling just as much as the first-time home buyers with trying to find a home. And they're looking many times at homes that might be higher priced and carrying higher interest rates, which translates into higher mortgage payments every month. So speaking to that shortage of new listings, look at the top 200 metropolitan areas by population size that Realtor.com provides the inventory metrics for. 99% of those top 200 saw listings decrease compared to a year ago. What about home values? Let's look at the Case-Shiller, the index, the Federal Housing Finance Agency index, and CoreLogic index. And what you see here is month-over-month changes. You see the second half of 2022 retreat, and then you see the rebounding momentum in 2023, a clear indication that prices are on an upward march and would be more typical like a given year. So with supply and demand part of the equation accounted for, let's look at the silver lining, which brings me a lot of hope, as I mentioned earlier, and the growth outlook, and that is new construction. We are seeing new rising construction offerings, a lot more options for participants who want to get into the real estate market today. And we're jumping into this topic looking at residential starts. These are homes that are in the early stages of construction. And in May, the latest data, we saw those starts jump 22%, a significant increase when you look at longer term trends. When you look at that black line, it shows you the long-term average. And then you see the period 2000 to 2007, where builders really ramped up production and put a lot of homes on the market, which is one of the reasons that led to the crash of 2008, 2009. And then you see the red line, 2008 through 2014, highlighted a severe shortage that we've experienced in this country. The good news right now is that builders are recognizing we have a shortage. They're recognizing that there is demand in the market, and they're ramping up production. The latest data available, May 2023, the new single family component is really solid and it's seen solid growth. And when we look geographically at what's happening, we're seeing the southern region, including Florida, really take the lead here in many ways. I want to close out this section by taking a look at what Doug Duncan, the chief economist of Fannie Mae, had to say in a recent report. Doug pointed out that housing prices continue to show stronger growth than what was previously expected, speaking to the perception that was painted by the headlines over the last 10 months versus market reality. He also underscores that housing performance is a testimony to the strength of the demographic-related demand, meaning a lot of young people, millennials, Gen Z, are coming to the market and they're embracing homeownership. And this is in the face of baby boomers aging in place and Gen Xers locking in historically low rates, meaning that they're not likely to move anytime soon, both of which have helped keep housing supply at historically low levels and prices were mainly flat. But we do have the age group of 26 to 35, and they are looking at buying a home, and they are coming to the market in a strong financial position, ready to move forward. Doug also highlights that home builders continue to add to the supply pipeline, but years of meager home building over the past business cycle simply means that we have an imbalance in the market that is going to continue for some time. So what are the main takeaways? Well, we do have good news. Buyers are absolutely active in the housing market as it's normalizing, and equally important, because it speaks to a return towards health in the market, prices are rebounding, and this should offer a lot of confidence to homeowners who've been reluctant to move forward out of fear that they may have missed last year's peak and may not be able to realize a solid equity position. It's probably not true. They're probably going to do pretty well. The reality check, of course, remains affordability, and as a challenge, it still is limiting options in people's next home. But on the outlook side, new construction is growing, and there's more options for buyers and sellers. So with that, I want to bring us full circle to a topic of confidence. And I thought Dale Carnegie captured this very well when he said, inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action brings confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy. The point he's making is whenever times are uncertain, whenever periods of change occur in our lives, in the economy, in real estate markets, learning as much as we can and getting a grasp on the numbers, the data and trends are so important. But equally as important is taking action and allowing that action to build on itself to make us confident. 1000 Watt, a PR consulting company, surveyed sellers and potential sellers in the market. And what they found is 65% of potential sellers were more inclined to sell their home within 6 months after speaking to a real estate agent. With that, I want to thank you for studying with me today. And if I can answer any of your real estate questions, please know that I'm here for you. Reach out anytime. I want you to understand the market and make the best decision for your real estate journey. That's all for now. Talk soon.